the suburbs, the target of the Democrats, and by target I mean the target for destruction. And the Democrats have kind of showed some ankle, but are now kind of covering it up as Biden wants to get as many votes out of the suburbs, particularly that ring the major cities in this country as possible, because he views that as the way to victory. Give us the full foundation of what it is that Obama-Biden were trying to do.
Absolutely, Mark. Well, you remember before I mentioned that any locality that applies for a federal housing grant is going to have to fill out an elaborate demographic form. You've got to explain where everyone lives in your jurisdiction, by income, by race, by ethnicity, et cetera, et cetera. That's just the beginning. Once you've done that, you have to compare your suburbs' demography to the demography of the greater metropolitan region. So again, if you're in Montgomery County or Chester County in suburban Philadelphia, you have to then compare your demography to the demography of the greater Philadelphia region. And if there are any imbalances, if there are different races, ethnicities, or incomes in different parts of the region, you have to submit a plan to HUD to remedy that imbalance. That if you're an upper middle class suburb, you might be obligated to build tens, even hundreds of millions of dollars in what's called high density, low income housing, and change your zoning regulations if your zoning had allowed only for single family residences, a house with a nice yard where your kids can play, and plenty of parking on the street. That would have to change. And even that is just the beginning, because you then have to inventory everything in your district which is called a community asset. What is a community asset? Where are the good schools in your district? Where are the parks? Where are the transportation hubs? Where are the employment opportunities in the business district? And if all of that is not equidistant from all of the different demographic and economic groups in your jurisdiction, including the people that you would bring in from other parts of the metropolitan area, then you're also in trouble, and you have to develop a plan to fix that.
So, I mean, this is such a massive assault on individual liberty, on mobility, on private property rights, on our local zoning system. It destroys our history in every respect when it comes to our governing system. And it all of a sudden turns everything over to bureaucrats at HUD who are, let's be honest, they are motivated by a radical left-wing agenda. So you'll basically wipe out the suburbs, you'll wipe out the ability for local governments to govern.
Here's where Joe Biden and the turbocharging comes in. It's bad enough that Biden has promised to enforce the Obama-Biden AFFH to the hilt, but now he's come up with a new idea that he got from Senator Cory Booker. And the new idea is this: not only will your HUD grants become conditional on doing all of the things that I just explained, but now your suburb will not be able to participate in any state road repairs that use any money in what are called surface transportation grants from the federal government. Now, what suburb in the United States could afford to exempt itself from state road repairs?
And of course, the suburbs need road funds because they're the suburbs, and a lot of people drive, and there's not a lot of public transportation, and so forth and so on. So this would affect the suburbs a great deal. Plus, people in the suburbs are paying an awful lot of the federal tax load, and that means that they get very little back, certainly in terms of the roads when it comes. So the goal is for the federal government to compel compliance, or to take money away from the suburbs that the suburbs have every right to receive because they pay into the federal till. So my question to you is, given how massively significant this is to the nature of the country, to millions of people who live in the suburbs and millions more who want to live in the suburbs, which are quite diverse, more diverse than ever before in American history, why is it so quiet? Why doesn't the media report it? Why isn't this on the front page of the New York Times and the Washington Post?
Well, that is a great question, Mark. And at one level, the answer is blindingly simple. They don't talk about it because they understand perfectly well that all the things I've been describing would completely put off suburban voters. We have a layer of government at the local level, at the state level, and at the federal level. And the local level should do as much as possible, and the higher levels as little as possible. AFFH is a complete reversal of all that. It is a takeover of and really destruction of the local level by the federal level. We can't let ourselves surrender that because of false charges of racism. That's not what's at stake here. That's being used as a cover for a power grab by people who think they know how we ought to live.